Hi everyone, welcome to an exciting webinar today with our feature updates to help you get the most out of your new funnel lists functionality. I'm Monica, I am the Customer Experience Manager here at Digistorm, and we're coming live for you today from our HQ in Burleigh Heads. It's not sunny today, so I would normally say sunny Burleigh Heads, but that would be a lie today. So we are going to go through a really nice structured deep dive into a upcoming release that'll be coming live to your systems next week. So we'll go through exactly what the change looks like and how to impact you across the system. So if I can just cover off quickly what we're going to go through today together, it's going to be an overview of the update itself. So what is happening in the system and how's it going to impact you? An overview of the table view of the system, because there is some changes in there that you will notice, and some dynamic lists and a nice new one that you guys will be excited to learn about, some favoriting in there as well as an introduction to quick filters. So there's quite a bit to get through today. I can see a lot of people signing in and joining in the chat, which is awesome. Thanks so much for popping in there and saying hi. We've got Julie, Brenton, who else have we got? Marilyn, awesome. So good to see you guys in there. So as always, we love seeing the chat, so pop any questions in there that come up during the webinar. So lovely colleague Tara is monitoring that, so she'll be forwarding those kind of onto me and flagging them when we get to the question time at the end. But feel free as things pop up around the update that we're talking about today, just to pop it straight in the chat and we'll get to them towards the end. So a quick kind of overview of what will happen. I'll jump into the system and go through the changes directly within Funnel. We'll go through some question time, and then I'll talk about follow-up communication that you'll receive as part of the change management of the system. So some new little communication channels coming out with some updated emails and some little webinar trainings as well. So we'll go through that at the end. But without further ado, let's get into what has actually changed. So you guys obviously utilize the segment functionality within the system, and that is where a lot of this new release is going to be impacting. So the idea of segments and lists is how you know it, that concept of how you currently use that functionality is now going to be created and combined, into one concept, and it's just titled lists. So the functionality of segments as you know it won't be in the system anymore, in terms of it's not termed segments anymore. If I say the word segment throughout this webinar, I apologize. Old habits die hard. I mean dynamic lists. So when I talk about dynamic lists, that is now the name titled for segments. So dynamic lists are now the functionality of live segments, I guess, that are now kind of always updating live information in the system. So when you save a filter, we used to save it as a segment. Now we're going to be saving it as a dynamic list. So the functionality remains the same. The terminology has changed a little bit. As I said, I might slip up and say the word segment a few times, but I apologize in advance. Your existing functionality of lists as you know it, that being static and moving on and off, moving leads on and off the list, still remains the same. So you'll see in the system that you'll be able to see the difference in the system on the table view, the difference between what are dynamic and what are static lists. So again, it'll make a lot more sense when I show you. Another change you'll notice in this system as of next week, when the release is live in your systems, is the concept of quick filters. So we've pulled out some of the, frequently used filters from the system and put them at the top of the table. So it's just a nice quick filter option so that you can access it straight away, rather than having to kind of click through and find those ones that you use all the time. We've exposed those options across the top of the table. That then means, obviously, with quick filters, we've kind of put the rest of the filter options as what we call advanced filters. So you have your quick filters and you can click advanced to expose the rest of the options that have always been available to you. None of them have disappeared. They've just kind of categorized a little bit differently. So with those changes, just want to kind of reiterate and ease everyone's anxiety. You don't have to do anything in terms of updating your existing content. So with the update that's rolled out next week, all of your existing, what you know as segments or what you know as lists, will now be rolled over into the functionality of dynamic lists if they're existing segments at the moment, or static lists if you're using just standard lists at the moment as well. So all of those filters, etc., that are saved as your current segments, again, now will be known as dynamic lists. Okay, I think I've kind of covered off and said the word lists enough times already. So let's jump into the system. And the first thing we'll go through is the changes that you'll see visually on your table view within your funnel. So I'll flick across now to my funnel instance, and I'll just talk you through exactly kind of what's changed. We'll go through what existing functionality that you're used to and where that now sits. And then I'll just touch on some nice little feature adds that you'll see in here too. Some of them I'm really excited about. So firstly, you'll notice it looks a little different. So we have kind of updated what we call the user interface of this area of the system. A few things in terms of the stage representation is slightly different. So it used to kind of just be a bar that showed the progress across it. Now it's broken up into more of a representation of an actual stage. So that's kind of a new look and feel element to it. In terms of your existing functionality and where to find that, everything remains the same. So in terms of being able to search your table for existing leads, that's still here. You can type and search the names as well. You still have the ability to edit your columns. So you can click edit. So there's a little quick actions up the top right. You can click edit to be able to still edit all of your column headings and view your table in different instances. So for example, you can still edit them in your, I nearly said segments, in your dynamic lists view as well. So just remember that that is all still there. You still have your options to view the data as a board or as a table view. That hasn't changed. Everything remains the same for quick selection or bulk selection. So you can still check alongside everyone's name, and you still have the same options across the top in quick actions or bulk actions in the drop down here. It looks a little different as part of the user interface design update, but functionality in those areas remain the same. Perfect. You can still obviously reorder your data by clicking the table columns, and that will reorder it accordingly too. So they are the main ones that have stayed the same. Let's talk about some newbies, which you've probably already spotted straight away. But across the top, we mentioned the idea or the concept of quick filters. So that's what you're seeing here across the top. We've pulled out some of those frequently used filter options and made them really nice and easy to access. So if we wanted to look at a particular year level, maybe you just want to actually see the number of leads, rather than having to kind of click in and do multiple clicks to get that information at a glance. You can now just use your quick filters across the top and then see exactly, okay, I know that I now have 3 leads in there, and maybe that's all you need to do there. So you can click on that again. And another new little guy is the clear filter option. So anything that you currently have as an active quick filter, you can easily just clear that to go back to that all leads view. So again, you can do it based on stage. As soon as you select that, have a quick look. Okay, great. I know I've got 12 leads in there. I can clear it as quickly as I added it on. Great. Now, this is one of my favorites, the little numbers across the top. I don't know about you guys, but I did not enjoy scrolling to the bottom of the table just to see a figure. So I love this little number across the top. So you can see it as a snapshot straight away. Obviously, I'm at the moment in my all leads, so I'm seeing all leads in the system. But you did see that update based on the quick filter selection. So quick filter, it updated to 3 leads. If I click on any of my lists, that will update again and tell me how many leads are included in that list. Okay, I'll just remove that for now. And I'll scroll to the bottom for another nice one, probably my second favorite. Down the bottom, we have the option to see the number of leads on one kind of page. Instead of having to kind of click through, you can see, you can select kind of if you're more of a page flipper and you go through and would like to see the different pages. I'm more of a scroll, so I like to have as many leads as I can on the one page, and you can just kind of scroll and have a look there in the system, and I don't have enough leads for it to go over additional pages there. Perfect. Okay, up the top, as we have quick filters, so they're our popular, most frequently used options, we have the concept of advanced filter. So when I click this, it is exactly the same as your current filtering functionality. So nothing has changed here. You guys have seen this condition editor or condition filtering. So nothing has changed here. It's just where it's located is different. So previously, you used to click filter up the top right, and then you would get this option. Now you have the options for advanced filter sitting across the top here to build out and add to any of those quick filtering options. Again, you can select your quick filter. So if I wanted to say year 7 and I wanted to add an additional option to that, it will store that quick filter option that you have selected. And then you can just add on any of those more advanced filtering options to build out a more kind of targeted data set. So all of the options that were previously available to you in your filtering is exactly the same. Perfect. Okay, so one of the other areas that have been updated is if we click on a particular I nearly said segment again. Old habits die hard. So dynamic list or list, and if they are being used in anywhere of part of the system, for example, if this particular list is being used in a communication, I can see that it is currently linked to something else within the system. So then you can click on that linked section and see exactly what services are utilizing this list that you're currently viewing. So for this instance, this particular list that I have selected is currently active in 2 specific communication campaigns within the system. You will see that there is a draft. If it's been sent, that would be updated to sent to, and you can actually click to view the communication that has been used here too. Great. Perfect. Okay, so we've gone through, I guess, the main changes, so you know what existing functionality is there and where that now sits. You know some new little bits and pieces that are available on your table. And we'll just go through some functionality in terms of the actual lists. So let's focus our attention down the left-hand side, where you would normally see a breakdown of segments and then lists. That's what you would normally see in your current system. When this release rolls out, you will have the view of a combined functionality being just all of your lists together. Down here, you can search for a particular list that you have previously created, or a nice way to use it as well is just checking if you've already got a specific list created. Rather than kind of just going ahead and creating it again, you could pop in here and just say, oh, actually, I need to see any lists that I have already created for 2022 and just double check. Okay, I already have my year 7 one. I don't need to go ahead and recreate the wheel on that. So the search, that's a newbie added to the list functionality. Down the page on the left-hand side, you may have spotted here the favorites section. So this here gives you the ability to be able to select any of your favorite segments. I said segments again, sorry. Any of your favorite dynamic lists. So that means that this is your personal view. You're just going to be seeing what you favorite. So this doesn't impact anybody else's view of funnel. It's per user. So per login, per account user will have this particular favorite option, and favorites shown in this little section. Okay, so I'll go through creating the lists and favoriting in a moment, but just so you know that that's what happens when you do favorite. They pop up under that section there. As you scroll down, the rest of your lists are visible here. We mentioned that obviously the combining of dynamic lists and standard static lists are now together. So how do you actually, differentiate between those that are already created? When you hover on the list name, you'll see here if it is dynamic. So dynamic being that it is a filter that's saved, so it's live, always updating with new data. That means that according to this particular dynamic list here, it has a filter stored and saved. So any new data that comes into the system, like your current existing segment functionality, that will be updated automatically on this dynamic list. If it is a static, so meaning that you are adding or removing leads to and from this particular list, it won't show anything alongside the name. So it's only highlighting if the list is dynamic. If it is not, it will just be blank and standard sitting there for you. Okay. If, for example, I was actually really interested in the 2024 Year 12 list, you'll see up here the little star alongside the name of my list. So by clicking that, that is as simple as it is to favorite any of your specific lists that are important to you. So I've selected my little favorite star, and now it's appearing underneath this favorite section here. So I've got 3 so far in there. If at whatever stage I'm no longer interested in this particular list, it doesn't need to be here in my favorites. It's as simple as removing the star alongside the title of that list. So as soon as you remove it, it'll drop back down with the rest of your lists. So there it is there. Perfect. If for whatever reason you don't need that list at all anymore, the same functionality is still available to be able to delete any of those lists at any stage. And we encourage you to do this, especially for, historic data in terms of, you might have lists saved in there for 2019 leads that might not be so relevant anymore. So just select the list that you'd like to action, and the quick dots across the top here, you can delete the list. Again, that's not going to delete the data within that list. It's just going to remove the list that was created. So you can unfavorite any that are no longer completely relevant at that time, or you can completely delete them if you're not going to need to access them anymore. How about creating one? Let's talk about how you actually create a new list. So 2 main ways. One is this little plus button alongside the list title here, and it gives you the option straight away. Did you want to create a dynamic list, or are you looking at creating a static list and manually adding and updating the leads that are included on there? If you select dynamic list, it'll give you the filtering options straight away. So you are creating, for example, I might do year 6, perfect. And I might do an advanced filter. So I may only be interested in particular further data set. So I'm building out my advanced filters. I had my basic quick filter set. So that's what the 1 is referring to, that there is already 1 filtering options set for this data. I'm adding on now to filter out some more information. So I might go lead properties and do gender is male. And then I've got my data set kind of ready to go, and you can save that dynamic list straight away. So if I hit save, it'll pop up with the option to straight away name the list. This is really important because otherwise, if you don't do this, you're going to have a long scrolling list of untitled lists that you kind of will have to go in and update later. So it's really important to name it nice and clearly, especially with the functionality now to be able to find a list that you're interested in. Name it exactly what it is. So for example, this is my Year 6 males. So you know then if you're looking for male applicants, you can search the word male in that list search up the top, and this one will pop up. So you will see here that it's still active. A couple of little tips here to actually kind of store the name is you can simply click outside of the text box and that will store and save that list. Alternatively, you can name it, enter the name and hit enter on your keyboard and that will do the same thing. So it looks like it'll remain active and it kind of, you just need to know that you can click outside or you can hit enter and the name is stored in there. Perfect. If you've created this list straight away and you actually know that this is really important to you for the current time, you can just favorite it as soon as you make it. So add to favorites, we'll bring it from the bottom list up to your favorites section. And because I saved my filter as this particular dynamic list, it's going to show here as dynamic. Great. I'll just quickly touch on how you create a static list and adding people to those. Again, the functionality around this has not changed, but we'll go through exactly how you do it from this area. So static lists you can create by using the plus button, select static. Again, because you want to name this particular list, it's prompting you to do it straight away because it is really important. So I might just do waitlisted Year 7s. And then it gives you the option to add people to this particular static list. So I can go to my leads table and add that one and that one. I'm going to select my lists, my leads that are relevant to that list and use my more drop down to add to list. And I can search Year 7, select add. So then my 2 leads that I've just selected will be included on that static list. Perfect, okay. Just to go back a step as well, just to cover off another way of creating your dynamic lists is exactly the same way as how you would currently create a segment, being that you can build out your filtering first. Select your entry year, for example, and then you can save it straight away from here. So just so you know, if you kind of filter first and save it second, that is completely fine. So we'll just give you the option then to title it from that step, or you can jump down to the plus button and select either option here too. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to show you a little bit about the lead detail page and where the lists are included on the lead detail page. This is not a change. This is that has always been available, but I just want to reiterate it might be good to kind of touch on this as a bit of a refresher on functionality too. So I'm going to go to Susie McNabb here as our test lead and show you, as I scroll down the bottom of the page, I've got our lists widget here to show exactly what lists this particular lead is included in. So at the moment, Susie here is just included in my prep waitlist list, so I know that straight away. For example, this really comes into its own if you are actioning something on or for this particular lead. So for example, you might have just spoken to Susie's guardians, Sally McNabb, and you could say that spoke to Sally and offered Susie a position for 2025. And you can save that activity, and then you might want to action that straight away. So now that you know that Susie here is no longer on the wait list, you can scroll down the bottom and remove her or remove that list from her actual record too. So it's the same thing as removing them from the list if you are in the lead page, the lead list page, but you can remove them from here too. So you don't have to jump in and out of screens. While you're actioning something on that particular lead, you can jump in and kind of remove them from there. So it's like a to-do that you can kind of remove straight away. Alternatively, you can do, I guess, the flip side or the opposite by adding them to an existing list. So if there is someone that you've reviewed the application and you need to do something with or separate them out from the rest of your leads, you could select Add to List from the lead detail page that you are working on and select any of the lists that are available here for you. You'll notice the prep wait list one is grayed out. She's already included on that one, so that's obviously not available to select. And this is only going to show you, obviously, static lists, because if it's a dynamic list, that's saved based on filtering, and this particular lead might not actually match the filters for those dynamic lists, so you can't manually add or remove people from dynamic lists. This is only going to show you those statics. Great. All right, the final piece of the puzzle is just showing you a slight update in the communications module around the static and dynamic list change. So if I jump across to the communications area of the system now, you'll see here, obviously everything looks the exact same. It's all functioning the same, but the difference will be within the recipient selector. So if I hit edit, previously, you would have the options to select from lists, from segments, or select manually. Obviously now with the combination that we've done, all of the options, both dynamic and static, will be included in From My Lists. When you click on that, it's the same as that kind of left-hand side of the leads table screen, where all of them are combined into one. You'll be able to search and find the one you're looking for. If it is a static list, you'll have a figure, so a total number of leads that are currently sitting in that list. If it is dynamic, live, dynamic, always updating, based on the filter that is saved for that dynamic list, it will highlight here that it is dynamic. So it doesn't give you a number because that number is always changing and updating. The static list, however, can give a concrete figure because it is manually changed. So people are moving on and off manually for that. So we can give you a figure. So functionality here in terms of selecting who the recipients are is exactly the same. It's just the little visual change that I wanted to show you so you're aware that will be coming. So you can still just select whichever recipient list makes sense for this particular communication, save that, and they'll be added as recipients for that communication. Perfect. Okay. That is pretty much it in terms of this particular release and update. I understand it may be a lot of info to take in. The main thing to note is that your existing kind of functionality that you have is still there. It's just termed a little bit differently, and the things may be just placed in a slightly different area to what you're used to. So we'll go through, I guess, any other questions maybe that you might have sent through to the chat. So I'll just refer over to Tara to see what's come through and see if there's any questions in here. So I can see Brenton, lovely. Okay, let's go with, is there a difference between quick filters and quick views? Yes, perfect. So good pickup. Previously, you would know that there was a kind of quick views option here on the left-hand side. We made the decision that giving you the flexibility to kind of customize what you want to call your quick views was kind of more beneficial to the user than us assuming and creating these kind of default quick views that really were kind of hard to understand exactly what was going on in them. So quick filtering and quick views is slightly different, but it is kind of combined with favoriting to give you that same kind of quick view option that you used to have. So the quick view options currently before this release is live in your system are things like recent activity, new leads, things like that, uncontacted. But this kind of allows you to select and create your own quick views by easily selecting filters from the quick filtering options, and then you can save that and kind of have it as your ongoing favorites there too. So it's kind of a bit of a combination, but we're hoping that it actually is more powerful and more kind of customized to what you're actually interested in accessing nice and easily. Okay, I'll just refer back to some more questions. So Brenton again, can you select more than one quick filter condition at a time? So example, Year 7, 2022, and application received. Perfect. So again, this kind of area, this quick filtering, is exactly the same as your current filtering options. It's just exposing them and making them more accessible. So anything that you used to be able to do with filtering, you can absolutely still do. So for example, in your kind of point that you raised, Brenton, we'll do a year level, an entry year, and we'll do the combination of a year level and potentially a stage if you wanted. So that is the option to kind of create your filtering with a few different kind of combination of condition options there. And you again have the ability to save this straight away as a live dynamic list, or it might just be that you wanted to have a quick look in there. So I think it's just the main point is that it's just bringing those quick options out and exposing them so that you can easily access them. The main functionality of kind of combining all of them together, all still there, and that is kind of what it does. If you then want to add on anything in addition to these options that are already here, you can do the advanced filtering. And again, that just saves anything that you've already kind of set using your quick filters, but allows you to build on that using the exact same functionality that you guys currently do and currently see. So again, you can add on, and it may be that you're now adding on kind of event options too. So did they come along to an event? Did they register for an event? Whatever that may be. And just to make sure I've covered your question, Brenton, you can obviously still select multiple year levels, multiple entry years, the exact same way as you would in your current filters too. Perfect. Got time for one more, but as I said, if we've missed any, we will follow up in the communication to answer. Okay, Brenton, one more. Can dynamic lists be created by one user, be seen by all users? Yes. So same functionality as your current segments and lists. Whatever is created in here will be seen by all users. So the difference is, and what we hope will really kind of help, is the favoriting functionality. So you might not really care about half of the segment, I nearly said it, half of the dynamic lists that have been created in your system by your other colleagues. You might only care about, a handful. So everybody still sees all of your dynamic lists and lists that are in the system. You have the option now to select and favorite any that you would like, so that really you only need to reference this favorites area on the left-hand side. Perfect. I hope I answered the question. Awesome. Okay, so that's all we have time for questions wise, but as I said, you will receive a follow-up email of the recording of this webinar. However, if you don't want to watch this all through again, I don't blame you. We will also be sending out short snippets of videos to kind of target any of the specific areas that have changed. So if you're not quite across one of the areas that we covered, there will be kind of more targeted email communication going out with the videos, smaller snippets for you to reference too. So that will be coming. The follow-up email with the recording will be this afternoon. Just to kind of communicate with you about that, the email communication that goes out post webinar is always always sent to all registrants. So anybody that registered for this webinar should receive or will be sent the email. If you don't receive it by this afternoon, by close of business today, just check your spam filter or your spam inbox, just because it is certainly sent, so it may just be getting stuck in your school spam filter, so it will be there. If you do have any colleagues that use the system that didn't come along today, please let them know that this change is coming. and they will receive obviously the email communication about that. If they have, or you guys have any issues with the new update, please contact your CSM directly. They are fully across this change, obviously, and are more than happy to help you and guide you through this. So your CSM is your best contact in terms of getting any kind of further information on the update. You're probably asking, Mon, just tell me when it's actually live, so I'm ready. So it'll be next week. So we're just finalizing some things internally for the rest of this week, and the update you will see automatically roll out early next week. So just keep an eye on that. If you've got any concerns about that, let us know. Your CSM will certainly help you and guide you through when that comes live. Perfect. Okay. So in terms of what's coming next for Digistorm, we are doing some live webinar trainings. So we've taken on some really great feedback that you guys have been providing on webinars and training, and we are going to build out some more targeted product training. So there'll be websites, there'll be funnel, and there'll also be app training. So we're going to break these down into beginner kind of content and intermediate content. Don't worry if you don't know where you sit in that kind of category, but we'll be communicating out exactly what's covered off in each of those kind of upcoming training webinars, so that you can kind of pick and choose where you think you sit. If you'd like to watch both, that's absolutely fine as well. You can just register for both and sit in and join in both webinars. So we'll keep you posted on when they will be coming out. I believe we're looking at a late March for the first one. So if you do not kind of know exactly where you sit, as I said, you can just kind of join in both and figure that out once you're kind of watching, and you'll get a full run sheet of exactly what we will be covering in those product trainings. Perfect. I think that is about it from us today. Thank you so much for your engagement. I hope this helps with the upcoming release and just kind of preparing you for the change. It's not as scary as it may look, I promise. All of the functionality, as I said, is the same in terms of what you're used to with filtering and saving what you used to know as segments, now as dynamic lists, and using your favorites to really help kind of find exactly what you're looking for in your system. Perfect. If you do want to stay in tune with us, you can subscribe and like to our YouTube channel and like us on LinkedIn. Give us a follow and you can stay up to date with exactly what's going on here at Digistorm. Thanks so much for your time, guys. Have a lovely Wednesday and we'll see you all soon.